Well, some slightly more positive news coming out about our power utility today. 36,000 hectares of Eskom-owned land is going to be made available in Mpumalanga from next year. It will allow investors to connect to the grid and create more power, privately driven power. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan has announced that. This, of course, as the power utility released its interim results. I'm joined now by our reporter Heidi Giokos. Hello, Heidi.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Sally. So some great news coming out of Eskom interim results. Firstly, the fact that the Minister of Public Enterprises announcing the availability of 36,000 hectares of land. But let's get straight into it with the CEO of Eskom, Mr. Andre de Ruyter. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Speak to us about this availability of land and how it's going to possibly be a game changer in renewable energy and for investors that could possibly take up this land.
So I think the first game changer was the announcement by the President in June of this year to lift the licensing restriction on so-called cell for embedded generation from 1 megawatt to 100 megawatt. Eskom supported that and welcomed it at the time, but we very quickly realized that access to the transmission grid was going to be the bottleneck that delayed the implementation of this much needed additional generation capacity. So we looked at our land assets, we looked at our transmission grid, and we realized that we have significant unutilized or underutilized land in Mpumalanga that we can make available on a competitive basis to developers who wish to use that to build their own renewable energy projects. So we think it's quite exciting. We hope it accelerates the addition of new projects, and we stand ready to engage early in the new year with developers who wish to pursue that.
Okay, let's move into the results. 9.2 billion rand in profits. Many would say, how did this happen and what contributed to this?
So there's been a huge focus, first of all, on the top line. Revenue is up 8%. That is due to a strong recovery after the COVID lockdown. We also had a 15.06% increase in our tariffs. So the combination of that really drove results at the top line. Cost control was a very important feature. We continued to reduce our headcount, and then we were able to achieve a real reduction in our coal price year on year of about 5% after consecutive years of double-digit increases. So we are getting our arms around our cost base, and the combination of that resulted in this significantly improved performance.
Speak to us about tariff increases. Many are very unhappy about this, also given the difficulties people face, especially after COVID-19. Is it really necessary for Eskom to increase tariffs over 15%?
You need to look at the legacy that we face with a series of decisions by NERSA not to award Eskom cost-reflective tariff increases. Had NERSA applied the multi-year pricing price determination methodology as they should have, which they didn't, then playing catch-up now with these very large increases would not have been necessary. So unfortunately, what we are having to do is to catch up for what has happened in the past, and that results in painful increases, and we're very aware of it, and we're trying to mitigate that by, for example, offering free basic electricity to indigent users.
Let's move into municipal debt. It's over 43 billion rand, and while we do know that you have municipalities that are not paying, and you also have people that are just not paying for the electricity they consume, many would also argue that, for example, in Soweto, Eskom waited to the very last minute to say, well, we need to collect what's being used, and now electricity is being cut off. So many would say that Eskom failed on its part to make sure that it didn't reach a point of 43 billion rand debt. What is the solution there, Mr. de Ruyter? Because clearly it's a massive problem. It's 43 billion rand in debt.
Yeah, it's more than 10% of our total outstanding debt. So if we can resolve this, this will make a meaningful dent in our debt. The issue is that we have been interdicted by court orders from cutting off the supply of electricity to defaulting municipalities. So one of the major tools that we have to enforce payment that we use with our business customers, for example, if a factory doesn't pay us for electricity, we just cut the factory off and miraculously they pay us the very next month or the very next day. So we don't have that at our disposal with defaulting municipalities, and therefore we have to engage in extensive negotiations. We have to follow court processes to attach bank accounts, and this all takes a very long time, while of course the municipality has every incentive not to commence paying because they can use the money for other purposes.
Yeah, it's a very challenging one. Just lastly, Mr. Director, speak to us about the concern of stage 8 load shedding linked to this air quality regulator deal, and what this will actually mean moving forward, especially with load shedding in December. I know it's twofold. There were concerns that there was going to be massive load shedding that would take place, but also you've mentioned the fact that there might not be load shedding in December. And when are we going to stop hearing the word load shedding or blackouts?
So load shedding is very unlikely during the festive season. Demand is typically very low. The generation system is looking good at the moment, but as I said during the briefing, this generation system of ours is a habit of keeping me very humble, so I make forecasts with some trepidation. As far as the environmental issue is concerned, we have submitted an appeal. That appeal suspends the implementation of the decision, and a further announcement will be made by the Department of Environmental Affairs later on this afternoon, which I'm sure will clarify the matter and will put people's minds at rest.
Great, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. That is the CEO of Eskom, Andre de Reitz, and hopefully this December, Sally, we won't have load shedding.
Well, yes, let's hope so indeed. Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos.